For the first time since the Israel-Hamas war began last October, the US recently abstained from a UN resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. That allowed the resolution to go through. Until now, the US had used its veto power and rejected one resolution after another at the United Nations which had called for a ceasefire. Now, this is important because it does indicate a shift in the US position, which until now has been staunchly in support of Israel. But as casualties mount in Gaza, as the humanitarian crisis unfolds, it's becoming harder and harder for Israel's closest allies like the US to continue to defend its position. More than 30,000 people have been killed in Gaza now in the last few months. There are people now on the verge of starvation and famine. This is a warning that has come from UN agencies. And therefore, in the midst of this, what moral position the US takes and practical position the US takes is very important. So by abstaining at the UN, has the needle moved far enough? Frankly, no. Because at the end of the day, the US still continues to supply arms and still continues to be a close ally of Israel. Yes, Mr. Netanyahu is irritated that the US abstained at the UN in this particular resolution, but ties are still quite strong. And we can see that it's also having a bearing on domestic politics in the US because President Biden is on the back foot in many crucial battleground states like Michigan, for example, which have a huge Arab American population. There are more than 100,000 people in the Democratic primary, for instance, Democratic voters who voted uncommitted because they're so angry with the Biden administration and its position on Israel. And if it's going to be a close election with Donald Trump, then these votes are going to matter. So the needle, frankly, has not moved far enough as far as the US is concerned. And that's all the more clear when the US Congress at the moment is being pressed by the Biden administration to approve billions of dollars of fighter jets sales to Israel, even as we speak. Ultimately, that is where the US commitment towards the people of Gaza is going to be tested, because UN abstentions, mere words and slogans aren't really going to matter. It's what they practically do, particularly with arms sales to Israel. And those are not stopping at the moment.